Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back here to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter. We're going to be tracking three different things here in this video. Winter storms is the first thing. The second thing we're going to be tracking is severe weather and the polar vortex. We're going to give you an update on that and the status of it by the middle of February as well. So if you are new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow along with all my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns, like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to go above and beyond, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's focus on the short term here, and let's look at our temperatures where we started this morning, because we were pretty cold, especially up here into Montana. Single digits below zero with our air temperatures. Our wind chills were about 20-30 degrees below zero, and hopefully everybody up there, as they headed off to work and school, did bundle up, and they bundled up in layers because it was very cold. Now, as we go into the afternoon, we're going to see a warming trend. Not much, though, for Montana. We're still going to be into the single digits, either above or below zero here. Wind chills will remain below zero, in the teens below zero in Montana this afternoon. And obviously down here in the desert Southwest, dry air, dry ground with drought expanding. And obviously our temperatures will be catapulting into the 70s and 80s this afternoon. What about the central United States? Let's look at our temperatures here, because we started off very cold into North Dakota, up here into northern Minnesota. Negative teens across these regions, and that is just the air temperature. Wind chill values around 20-30 degrees below zero. That takes up residents in the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, even the negatives, the sub-zero wind chills getting down into Nebraska, parts of Iowa, and hey, even northeastern Colorado and northern Kansas as well. As we go into the afternoon, here's where we go, and notice it's not warming up much across the north. We're into the single digits and the teens to the north, and a lot warmer down toward the south. Look at areas in northwest Texas. These are areas near Wichita Falls, Abilene, that got to near 90 degrees yesterday. We're literally going to just miss out on hitting 50 degrees this afternoon. So talk about like literally a 30 to 40 degree temperature change in a 24-hour period. Just incredible. And now let's look here at the eastern U.S., starting off here into the teens across portions of the Northeast, 30s from the Ohio Valley to the Mid-Atlantic, and then 40s, 50s, and 60s further to the south there. And really to take away from this, colder to the north and warmer to the south, 70s near the Gulf Coast, 80s again down in south central Florida, and then we're going to see more teens and 20s here to the north. So again, cold to the north, warmer to the south. Let's look here at our temperatures as we go through the rest of this week. So taking us into tomorrow, Wednesday, February 5th, you can see more near record-breaking heat across the deep south, and as we go into Thursday, we're going to see that spread further to the east. Friday, we get a little bit of a cooler northwest flow across the north, reinforcing that cooler air, and then ahead of our next storm system this weekend, we're just going to see warmer air preceding it, colder air coming in on the backside. You can see with the northwest flow. And with our next storm for Super Bowl weekend, that could actually bring in even colder, more widespread brand of cold air further to the south as we go into Super Bowl February 9th. Let's look here as we look at the Pineapple Express across the western U.S. This is going to bring some rain and some snow, and this just has been pummeling the West Coast over the past several days. No reason to believe that will change with a fire hose of moisture, but notice as this precipitation moves further south into Southern California, it's going to lose its luster, right? And that just means the drought is feeding back into this region. So it's nothing against Southern California. It's just the drought is not really helping us down here. And then we have another system as we go Thursday into Friday that could bring some more rain and snow to the foothill regions. And then finally, we shut off the taps for most of the moisture this weekend for both Saturday, February 8th and Super Bowl Sunday, February 9th. As far as moisture, additional accumulation for rainfall is concerned, we could be seeing, again, 6 to maybe up to 12 inches of rain in isolated areas here, getting up to 12 inches. Across northern and central foothills there of California. And as far as the snowfall is concerned, yeah, we could be seeing some decent snow in the Sierras that could be over 50, maybe even up to 60 inches, really just taking us between now and Super Bowl Sunday on February 9th. So keeping an eye on that. Looking at the central eastern U.S., we are keeping an eye on a storm system by midweek that will be emerging tomorrow morning across portions of the Central Plains, more so into the Midwest. That's going to start to give us some freezing drizzle concerns from northern Missouri into southern Iowa at first tomorrow morning. And as we go into the afternoon, notice the pinks start to migrate northward with that warm air advection into Iowa and northern Illinois, and then snowfall further to the north from there where the deeper cold air is. And you can see a notable ice storm threat from Cedar Rapids toward Rockford, over here towards Chicago, Fort Wayne, and even over here into the Dayton, Ohio area. Something to keep an eye on. Severe weather potential, maybe a little bit further to the south with heavy rain, and then snowstorm potential further to the north. And then as we go into Thursday, all of this pushes over into the northeast. Snow there across Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, Massachusetts. Cold air damming as we have colder air coming in on the backside of a high pressure that's just scooted off your screen, but that's bringing some cooler, shallow air in across portions of Pennsylvania, southern New York, even Maryland, and that could give us some freezing rain and sleet here as a cold air damming setup across parts of the mid-Atlantic there. And then as we go into the weekend, notice we have another system coming in, and this could take a similar track to the one midweek here with a notable ice storm in between, a snowstorm a little bit further south into Minnesota, northern Iowa, and Wisconsin, over here into Michigan, rainfall, and yes, severe weather will be possible on the southern side, really from Kentucky on southward. Let's talk about the severe weather potential for the first system. This is a Wednesday into Thursday. We have a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk of severe weather brought to you by the Storm Prediction Center here in southern Kentucky, middle and eastern Tennessee, back here into northwest Alabama, northern Mississippi, and a very extreme eastern parts of Arkansas there. So we're going to keep an eye on Nashville, Memphis, down here toward Tupelo. We're going to keep an eye on these areas for damaging winds, 60 miles an hour, some quarter-size hail, and cannot rule out a brief tornado threat either. And looking at the rainfall amounts on the warm side, we're going to be seeing around 1 to 3 inches of rain here, so isolated flash flooding will be possible. We shift further north into the colder side. At first, we're going to see some freezing rain and sleet. And this could lead to some notable ice accumulations across parts of the lower Midwest, like Iowa, Missouri, into Illinois, and then up here into southern lower Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and then extending over. More of a widespread, significant icing threat potentially there for Pennsylvania with the cold air damming and keeping that precipitation frozen. Could be seeing locally in these areas over a quarter inch of ice. So something to keep an eye on there. You go even further north into the deeper cold air, you're going to run into the snowflakes. That is a snowstorm across the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. That will transfer east into especially the upper peninsula of Michigan, but also northern lower Michigan as well. And then look at the northeast, jackpot here for some heavy snow. In these pinks and purples, could be seeing over a foot of snow at times into Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, and hey, maybe even Massachusetts as well. Let's talk about the stratosphere here. This is the level of the atmosphere above where we live. We live in the troposphere. The stratosphere is above us, and this is where some of the colder air has been gathering over the last several weeks. This is the polar vortex. And notice as we go through today, it's pretty strong, but it is starting to weaken a little bit, and that is why you're seeing kind of a stretching type of feature on here, where it kind of stretches into two lobes. The main lobe down here north of Hudson Bay, the secondary lobe over here towards Siberia. And notice as we go in towards the late portion of the week, it's going to continue to stretch through the weekend and then into early to mid portion of next week. There are signs of a sudden stratospheric warming event. How intense this will be will dictate how cold things will get during the middle portion to especially the second half of the month of February, but all signs do show that we are going to get colder as we go into next work week. Here's Monday, February 10th. Notice a lot of the greens, blues, and purples on here, more widespread than we see this week. And notice as we go into next week, we might have a little bit of an influx of warmer air from the south briefly, but that could just drive a big storm system in on the edge of this cold air, typically what you would see with the polar vortex, and then that would pull down even colder air across especially the northern and central United States as we go into the middle of February. Now, this will bring an active pattern, as we did note. This is going to bring a train of wintry precipitation, some winter storms out there, and yes, severe weather could be in play as we have a volatile atmosphere here. And notice, looking at the European model as we go into next week, Monday pretty dry, and then Tuesday, here comes one winter storm. It is yet to be determined how far north or south this snow line will get with this storm, so we'll keep an eye on that. But then just, again, a train of winter storms, that would be the one that would be more significant on the edge of that cold air, and then that would introduce significant northwest flow. By the middle of February, notice this is the 16th, And this would bring that cold air from this stratospheric polar vortex. Now, let's look at the GFS model, see what that has to show. Notice as we go into Monday, maybe a little bit more of a system there, overrunning event. It has the snow line a little bit further to the south, and then as we go into later next week, it just brings a couple more winter storms to the picture, a lot more suppressed look on the GFS model. So a lot of disagreement here, but just in general, we're going to be seeing some areas in the northeast, including, yes, the I-95 corridor, the mid-Atlantic, further back to the west, and really much of the north central United States, seeing at least a chance for a few inches of snow here on the ensemble guidance to the European, and the GFS ensemble, the American ensemble guidance, is really kind of in the same realm as well. And then looking at that third week of February, Saturday, February 15th, through the following Saturday, February 22nd, that stratospheric polar vortex definitely could be pulling down some really cold air, and this could give us the coldest air of the season thus far, even colder than January, especially across the north where you see these greens in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and the northern plains, all the way back to Montana. And that could also bring the snow line a little bit further south, but it's uncertain exactly how far south the snow line will get at this point, but things are going to change over the next few days. We'll keep you updated. That's why we show you the trends here in the long term. Thank you for watching. We're going to continue to track this winter storm, severe weather potential, and the stratospheric polar vortex right here on the channel. Make sure to subscribe for the latest weather information and follow along with all my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns. Turn on post notifications for the video as well this evening. If you don't have them on already, make sure they're on. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Tuesday out there.